Hi, it's Colin Coward. I started The Volume to bring you some of the most authentic voices in sports. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks.
The simple reality is the formula for success for this team, the same formula for success that won them a title in 2020 and gave them a lot of success in the face of horrible injury luck last season, was LeBron and AD and three guys who will do the dirty work. Three guys that can play off the ball, three guys that can play defense, three guys that can attack, closeouts, knock down shots, and things along those lines. That's exactly what made the Russell Westbrook fit so nonsensical. And we're going to get to that later. But the point is the reason why they were able to go on a run in that second half, the reason why when they went on that run, Russ seemed not very much involved, the reason why he was off the floor entirely when they built the big lead in the fourth quarter, and the reason why they had so much success in overtime is that formula. You have to surround LeBron and Anthony Davis with guys who are willing to do the dirty work. And all season long, we've had issues with these slow starts. And when you have these slow starts, they kind of suck the life out of the team. And there's a bunch of different reasons for that. And we can beat around the bush and ask if it's Frank Vogel, and we can ask if it's Russell Westbrook. But for whatever reason, more often than not this season, they've come out to slow starts. And what you saw in that first quarter was 11 consecutive fast break points for the New York Knicks. You saw dribble down the floor, Russell Westbrook turnover, run out, wide open three. Dribble up the floor, Malik Monk turnover, run down the floor, wide open three. And as you saw in that sequence, it's kind of like a cascading effect, because every time they score in transition like that, you have to slowly walk the ball back up the floor and attack against their set defense. And it just becomes this, it's a domino effect that leads to the other team scoring 41 points in the quarter. Then you go into the third quarter, after presumably somebody lit a fire under someone's butt in that halftime meeting, and you only give up 13 points, which directly leads to someone like Malik Monk being able to go on a run. The reason why is now you are getting stops. And now that you're getting stops, you are running the floor and you're getting open looks. And now that you are getting open looks for a great shooter like Malik Monk, he can catch literal fire the way that he did in that third quarter. And when a guy like Malik Monk gets hot like that, it's contagious. Now you're setting your defense. Now while you're setting your defense, you're getting more stops. There is a proven formula to winning basketball games. And this team has the pieces in order to execute that formula, but more often than not this year, they've deviated from that for various reasons. But it was really exciting to see in that second half a good stretch of basketball. They're at the start of the third quarter and then at the start of the fourth quarter, where the Lakers erased a big deficit and then built a big lead. And it was built on a very clear, basic formula, the same formula that won them the title in 2020. Get guys who defend next to LeBron and Anthony Davis. And it's so funny because if you guys remember in 2020, after Kawhi Leonard signs with the Clippers, this barrage of signings comes through. It's Avery Bradley, who everybody in Memphis and Clippers fans were telling you that he was horrible. And Danny Green, who was their big money signing, who was okay. Danny Green was Danny Green. He shot the ball well in Toronto the previous year. And it's JaVale McGee, and it's Rajon Rondo, and it's KCP. And you got all these guys talking trash about, hey, look at all these bad basketball players that are going to go play with LeBron and Anthony Davis. But it worked because those guys played hard. And the biggest problem this season is similar caliber players who are capable of doing that job, just weren't willing to do it for whatever reason. And I think a big part of that is the Russell Westbrook problem. So, Russell Westbrook makes extremely loud mistakes. He doesn't just miss a jump shot. He'll miss 2 feet to the left of his target. He'll hit the corner of the backboard. He'll airball it to the short and to the left. He'll have a wide open fast break and dribble the ball off his foot. He'll have a pass that he throws directly to the other team or off one of his teammates' legs or something like that. He makes loud mistakes. But I've never cared about the loud mistakes as long as you do the quiet job. Your responsibilities that you're expected to fulfill on a possession by possession basis for the team. The problem with Russ is he's not willing to do that job. So you're getting the lack of responsibility fulfillment and you're getting the catastrophic mistakes. It's like the opposite of a Marcus Smart. Because you guys know Marcus Smart. That dude takes crazy shots sometimes. He has extremely sloppy turnovers. He makes mistakes. But the guy's an absolute bulldog on the defensive end of the floor. The dude dives for every loose ball. The dude takes the most difficult defensive responsibility. The guy crashes the offensive glass relentlessly. He does all of those things, so Celtics fans do not care that he does some stupid stuff on offense sometimes. In fact, he's celebrated as one of the heroes of the team. He's the heart and soul of the team to many Celtic fans. That because no one cares about the loud mistakes if you do your job. And the problem is in that first half, in that second half, critically at the end of the game, pivotal possession, down by 3, there's a turnover, or Malik Monk misses a long jump shot, and Russ jogs back on defense and leaves a wide open shooter to tie the game. Russ, I don't care if you miss a layup. I don't care if you hit the corner of the backboard. Just do your job. And that is why this fundamentally doesn't work with him on the floor, and that's why the team operates at a much higher level when he's off the floor. You know, when he was playing against Charlotte the other night, he looked amazing, right? Because Russ is still one of the best heliocentric type of players that we have in the league. If you put him at the top of the key with shooters and guys that can attack closeouts and just let him make all the decisions and drive to the basket nonstop, he's going to do a pretty good job because that's pretty much the one thing that he's still okay at. And, you know, after the game, LeBron and Anthony Davis run out on the floor and they talk to Russ about how can we take this and recreate it when we're playing? And there was all this talk about how maybe we could make this work. But any sort of critical thinking would tell you, hey, actually the job that you need from the third guy is a lot different than the job from the first guy. Because, you know, LeBron James takes defensive possessions off too. LeBron had a couple of really sloppy defensive possessions early in this game, especially in transition, where he lost shooters or was sloppy on a switch or didn't run back in transition. But, you know, even though those plays bother me, because, you know, as a basketball fan, I don't like watching guys be lazy or make a mistake. But the reason why we put up with it with LeBron is because we know in pivotal moments, he turns it on in all those areas. And he does so much offensively for the team that you understand the trade-off. Like with LeBron, you're like, he's just saving his legs. He's resting while he's on the floor. He's managing his turbo meter, whatever it is that you want to call it, to save his energy for the big moments of the game or to do what he's doing on the offensive end of the floor. With Russ, it's the exact opposite. You know, his responsibilities tonight were the lowest that he's had all season because this is the most healthy the team has been. You know, the Lakers finally started Malik Monk and Stanley Johnson alongside the big three, and I was thrilled about that. That's their best lineup. You know, Stanley Johnson does a lot of dirty work, and Malik Monk brings enough shooting that it offsets some of the Russell Westbrook problem. That's their best lineup. And Russ came out flat with that lineup. Russ came out flat in the one position role-wise this season where he's had the least to do in terms of offensive responsibilities. Literally, if he just embraced those things that I'm talking about, so many people would let him off the hook. You don't have to get booed for missing a shot. They don't boo Marcus Smart when he misses a shot. You would not get booed if you did all of those things that help win basketball games. Even if you were missing and hitting the corner of the backboard, and if you couldn't dribble to save your life, you would be playing in crunch time with this group if they could count on you to do the dirty work. If they could count on you to keep your man in front, if they could count on you to box out, and if they could count on you to sprint back in transition. It's literally that simple. It's not any more complicated than that. And, you know, we haven't seen any post-game quotes yet. I'm sure we'll see what comes out. But the last time this happened, when Russ was benched in a pivotal moment, we had another issue where, you know, he ran off the floor. Frank had to say stuff in the post-game presser. You know, at some point, That's the other side of this that has to be factored in. If you're going to keep him around, then when things go south, you have to deal with all the negative that comes with benching your $44 million player or whatever it is that he does. Now, Russ has been playing better of late. He's been making more of his layups. He's been taking smarter shots, but they were all within the context of the big three not being there. It was all with LeBron out or with Anthony Davis out. The truth of the matter is his role when the team is healthy is different than the role it is when people are hurt. And when the team is healthy, they need a very specific set of responsibilities to be filled. And Russ is just another redundancy. He's just another guy that does the things that LeBron does at a much lower level than the level that LeBron does them. And that's why I advocated for trading him this season. That's why I advocated for trading him even if you don't get better players in return. Because at the end of the day, if the team is better without him and there's attitude at play, then what are you really trying to prove here by keeping him around? And so I again, the options are limited. Might have to be John Wall, might have to be, some arsenal of contracts from a team like the New York Knicks or a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder. But at least guys that come back might be able to be serviceable in this group. Before we even saw the game tonight, I'm looking at that starting lineup and I'm like, man, if you could swap out Russ for Austin Reeves, a guy that is killer at those fifth man responsibilities, a guy that literally leaves his heart and soul on the floor for those key responsibilities for the team, that guy slotting into that lineup makes you better. Not because he's a better player than Russ. He's not a better player than Russ. They played one-on-one, it'd probably be embarrassing. But the point is the basketball is not fantasy. Basketball is not NBA 2K. You're not building an overall rating. What you're doing is you're filling responsibilities on the floor. And LeBron and Anthony Davis fill so many responsibilities and do so much to help the team that it doesn't actually benefit anybody to have a guy out there who's not interested in doing the other things.